It is April 10th, 2020, and it is a Feel Good Friday. Anthony Milchieri and I are here to make your week happier, shinier, and all that kind of good stuff. Why? Because we've got Craig Morgan, who's a country music sensation, Green Beret, and all around incredible guy. We got Mr. Bruce Ford somewhere in the back room skulking about. And also, it looks like we're going to have the producers from Atlas, Bruce David Klein, who may have produced a little show we know called Hotel Impossible, Anthony. So let's get to it. Anthony Milchieri, it's Feel Good Friday, or in this case, maybe it's Feel Good Friday. How are you?
Thank you, sir, and happy Feel Good Friday to you, and happy Good Friday, and happy Passover, and happy everything else. And ask me about my shirt, Glenn.
Anthony, tell me a little bit about your shirt.
I wore this shirt for the first time when I met our next guest, Craig Morgan. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a
Yeah.
show, and I wore this shirt when I met him. So I said, "Oh, I haven't worn that shirt since I was in Nashville, so let me wear my Nashville shirt because Craig Morgan's going to be on." And Craig Morgan is, like you said, a country superstar, and
Mm-hmm.
he has a farm, so he's good, man. He's got his farm. And it's a well protected farm, and he's got his music and he's got his family. So I would imagine he can go through this pandemic for a couple years.
I would imagine he could. And speaking of getting through, let's bring him on right now, Mr. Craig Morgan. Thank you, sir, for being here. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who this guy is, maybe you haven't been listening to country music radio, or perhaps you aren't even aware of what a great service he's been to our country as a Green Beret and as great focus on family. And God, Craig Morgan, welcome, sir, to the show. Honor to see you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, man, it's so good to see you, my friend. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I miss you. And I was just telling him the shirt I'm wearing, I actually wore the first time when we were in Nashville on the show. And I was like, you know what? I haven't worn this shirt since the first time I was in Nashville when I was on set with Craig Morgan. And so it's a blessing to have you on, my friend.
Well, I'm grateful to be here, man, and get a lot about you guys. We know that everyone in this pandemic on the forefront, and a lot worse than a lot of people. But it does look like there is some good things. And but all of this said, we've been thinking about you and praying for you, and really wished I was there to be able to do something to help.
Well, I love you, man. I appreciate that. And I'll tell you something. One of the things we learn in the military is be prepared. So once you're prepared, you hunker down. And I have a news blackout for 9 days in my house. I live near the beach. I go to the beach once in a while. I have a pool. I go to the pool. I have my family with me. I got a little cash in my pocket. I got food in the refrigerator. And we're doing our part to just be to just stay away from everyone. Is that me or you, Glenn?
Yeah,
No, definitely not me.
I think
It's definitely not me. I love
well,
this
I think
guy
that
already.
obviously works.
So Greg,
I think
so
obviously
you're
this
on
stuff
your farm
works.
in Nashville, right? So
What? I'm sorry?
you're on your farm in Nashville right now?
Uh, 55 miles west, but I am on my farm, and you are correct. We are in a position prepared. I'm not a prepper by any means, but I am well prepared because of previous life's experiences has taught me that anything could happen. I will say, this is of all thought about, but really never thought that something like this could impact us in such a way, especially economically. What our country? So hopefully we'll get started back up soon.
So one of the things we talk about on the show every single day, we have the leaders of the hospitality industry on this show, and it's becoming really the news channel to inform people. And on
And you
Friday
are
we do
not one of
something,
those leaders.
and but he's a leader in country music, and
Absolutely.
one of the things that we do on Friday is kind of a feel good Friday and kind of talk about something different. So how has this impacted the music industry? I'm in somewhat the entertainment industry myself, and I know for us it's completely shut down. How are you guys getting your music? I know you're supposed to have an album coming out, and you're supposed to go on tour. How is that affecting you?
It's hammering us the same way that it's impacting. In fact, I often The only difference is, I think once we do start back up, you guys will have a better jump than us. I think because people will begin and they will stay. I think the issue with us aren't as excited to get out and go to a concert of people as quick as they are to stay in a hotel room by themselves. And I am dear friends with Colin Reed, who is the CEO of the Ryman Entertainment Group, and they also have the hotel. So, you know, I talk to them and understand
Right in the Grand Ole Opry.
The impact that it's having. It's devastated. I mean, we're not touring right now. I don't know when. It may be late summer, early fall before we get to start touring again.
And you have an album coming out in May, and you were supposed to be out on the road right about now, getting set to promote that thing, right?
Oh man, it was on the Today Show and all of the morning shows and the late night shows and all that stuff. And now, we're looking at doing it like this, except I don't even use my whole band. I'm only using a couple players because we're trying to people and the impact and, trying to maintain this stuff. So it makes it a little more difficult, but album, it's for pre-order now. You can pre-order it, and I do a live a Friday at 4 cons from the Loft. It's a little place that I own in Dixon, Tennessee, where I know no one or been there. So we do that every Friday at 4 o'clock, but I we do. You can afford it if you're working and you want to, but if you can't, don't spend your money on my record right now. Maybe family and that kind of stuff, the important things.
So 4 o'clock every Friday, we can get that. Where can we find that?
On my Facebook. We go live on Facebook. Available afterwards on YouTube and all the other social pieces.
Okay, well, we'll post that, and I'll make sure I think I already pre-ordered the album, but I'll make sure that I'm there 4 o'clock every Friday. And you're playing parts of the album, or what are you playing?
Yeah, we're doing new stuff off the record, doing some of the hits that we have. Like we do, I might do a song, and I think we've started I'm actually a songwriter that got me in this business. And so we write a song on the live Facebook.
Oh wow! I can't wait to hear that. I'll be there.
Hey, and look, we got the scroll. We got the scroll down below already, telling people how to tune in. That 4 o'clock, that's Central Time, I'm going to guess, not Eastern Time, right?
That is correct.
All right.
I'm glad you mentioned that. But one of the things, I was talking to Glenn and telling him how we met and stuff, and I said, I'll tell you everything you need to know about Craig. And I've mentioned this to you before. I said, we're in Alaska and we're about to do a show. And I said, hey, before we start filming, let's go have a cup of coffee in the morning. I don't drink coffee, but I just want to spend time with you. And I said, I'll meet you in between the two trailers at 6 a.m. And I was there at 5:45 a.m. and you beat me by 15 minutes and I had my coffee for me.
It's a good thing you showed up early then, Anthony, while the coffee was still hot.
Hey man, I have since this delay. I've since purchased a place up in Alaska. Now I'm gonna have to come up to my place. It's off grid, about 2.5 hours from Anchorage. No roads. You have to fly in or snow machine in the winter.
I would expect nothing less, my friend. I saw some pictures.
And if this thing don't clear up, I'm gonna head up that way.
Well, I think. Listen, I hope that it'll clear up in the next couple of months. But I saw some Christmas pictures last year when you were up there with your family, or a year or two ago, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And when you were on this show, we're in Alaska. I know nothing about the outdoors. Craig also has he's an outdoors guy. So he's fisher hunter. He has a show. He has a #1 show on the Outdoor Network. So he's a real. I mean, I always say that Craig Morgan's my man crush. I want to be Craig Morgan. And I said when we were in Alaska. Are you hearing that feedback, Glenn, or is it just?
Oh me? Yeah, no. The connection we have with Craig is horrific, but he's awesome.
No, I think it's my connection, to be honest with you. I don't think it's him.
Maybe it's just a plot that I could. Maybe it's just a plot by me to finally keep you down.
No, but so
I'm pretty
he
sure
taught me how to fish and hunt out in Alaska. So when we were in Alaska,
I still this day.
Tell me your recollection. Go ahead.
I just a guy from New York, and we were fishing, and we were having a great conversation. And I said, you know, one thing that's pretty prominent up here. A lot of time when guys are fishing, bear around, and I didn't finish the set. And there was a grizzly eating fish 40 yards from us. I don't know if you
I recall it. I still pee myself when I think about it. So that's what he remembers. So I look at it. I look at the bear, which is, he says 40 yards. I think it was like 3 yards, but maybe it was 40 yards. It felt like 3. But now we have to carry a gun. In that part of Alaska, you have to carry a gun in case a bear comes at you. So he has the gun because I'm a military guy, but I was in the Air Force, right? He was of Special Forces. I mean, he's not saying what he did, but he's a hero. He's in every sense of the word, he's a real hero. And he knows more about guns than I'll ever know about guns. And he hands me the gun. And he goes, like, what the hell are you handing me the gun for? He goes, because if the bear gets close, you got to shoot us. Shoot him. I said, I'll wind up shooting myself. Yeah. So I handed him the gun back. I said, I didn't shoot no bear. That's your job. You're my hero.
That's great.
It became a dear friend to this day, and I will I look forward to every time I get to see you. And I can't help but think of all the struggles you guys are dealing with up there. So do know that we specifically pray for you guys every day.
Well, I appreciate it. And, you know, my wife's a school teacher, and she's working from home, and she's worried about her 83-year-old dad, and she's having, you know, she's doing her best. But I appreciate your prayers, and, you know, I appreciate you, and I wish we were together, and I wish I was on your farm right now, because I know I'd eat well, I'd learn how to shoot, I learned how to hunt, and I know you have your own little world there, so I wish I was there. But
so maybe it is your connection.
Yeah, but New Yorkers are resilient. You know, New Yorkers are resilient, and you know, one of the things that I'm concerned about is everybody comes to New York, and everybody, now everybody's looking at New York. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to go to New York. Well, the reason we're in this situation is because we're the hub of the world, and JFK and everything else. Everybody came here from Europe. Everybody came here from Asia, and we're trying to make the city move. And I'm not blaming anyone at all, but we're trying to make the city move through MTA. MTA has more casualties than the police department and the fire department. So we're trying to make this city move, and you know, because we're in the middle of the city. That's why we're in the middle of it. So I don't want people to forget how great this city is and how resilient the city is. And I know, Craig, you have a great relationship with New York City. You're in and out of New York City all the time. And you know, New York City is a great city. And like I was saying before, you know, everybody came to New York City and left. And we're handling this, and I really give a lot of credit to Governor Cuomo. You know, and I don't talk politics, but every day, 12 o'clock, he does that. You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt kind of fireside chat where he's talking to people and he's making people feel better. And I know whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or which side, he's at least giving you information. And, you know, I never thought I would say that before, but at least he's giving information. So I think New York City will come back bigger and better than ever.
Oh, there's no doubt. Listen, there's no question New York City. And you're right. I am a big fan. And I love that of this. And a lot of that introduced me to a lot of lifestyle, so to speak, up there. And I love the people. And I agree with you. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Cuomo. He has handled this a great job. Federal government can to ensure, and the people love that taken care of. So kudos to him for his day. I'll watch him because I you know, you guys are up there, and think about you guys going on, and I feel like he's being very informed. He's being so I'm real proud of the way that city has handled itself, and I think it truly and it on our country and always has. New York City is like, the melting pot, and it emulates our country. I think he's done a great job.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because as military guys, we look at the leader. We don't look at the politics. I've never been real political. We look at the person stepping up. So you can look at a leader that maybe in peacetime is not really, we don't really respect them, but then in wartime they step up, and that's when you're supposed to be a leader.
Yeah, and he's handled him very I think he's done. I'm just impressed. I got to be honest. I'm a good speaker, but after watching him in these briefings every day, I found is on. He's very informed, and I think he's professional about sharing the information in a very professional.
Go ahead.
I got a question. I want to talk a little bit more about Craig, not Governor Cuomo, although he's doing good stuff for our great state over here. Let's tie it back into what a lot of the people are listening, and you're talking about being prepared and all of that kind of stuff. How do you prepare to be amazing on stage, to be amazing on television? What are some of those things that you think about that maybe our listeners and watchers can incorporate into their own lives to find better success when they're doing stuff in public?
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't do a lot of preparation. I would like to think that like this, I am what I am, what you fit. And I'm like that right now. The same person that I am talking to you guys is the same person that's on that stage performing. The only then is I've been working on my farm, so I got on my work boots, and on stage I got on nicer shoes, and but it's the
and I will 100% say that, and that's why I love you, and that's why, on behalf of America, I mean, you're a hero, and also, what people don't understand is when you came out of the military, you were working in Walmart. Talk about that.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I would regret or hate anytime something bad about milk, bread, and eggs, all the stuff that goes bad really quick, and so the dairy manager's trying to make sure they got everything right.
And I think why we connect on such a level is because we believe in the same things, but no one's ever handed you a damn thing, and you just keep grinding. You're grinding. I mean, you're a member of the Grand Ole Opry. You charted 17 times, and you were the dairy manager at Walmart.
Well, yeah, I was talking to my son this morning. He came to visit with us and spent a few days with us. And he's laid off. I mean, I'm not working. We're in the same boat as every American about it. And I said, look, in order to be successful, to try harder than the succeeding. In other words, that term, if you're on time, it's that simple. You can't be that guy on top just at the effort to be on top. You got to work harder. And now it's even going to be more impacted. I think we're going to see the real, and going to see those people that have been beat up and knocked down, lost their job, running out of money, and then back clawing to get back where they were, and better and smarter.
And those people, I think those are beautiful words. And I think those people, and they're not resentful. They're not resentful. Why do I have to work harder? Why do I had this? Why do I have to go back and get it? Because that's what you have to do. And I think that is the mindset that you have, and I think Glenn has and I have. And I just also want to mention something. Craig Morgan was on Kelly Clarkson not too long ago. You may have met my friend that was on last week. Ruben, who's the warm-up guy for Kelly Clarkson. He's a good friend of mine. Did you meet him?
Yes.
Yeah, he worked for me. He worked for me at the Nickelodeon.
I wish I'd have known he was a friend of yours.
But he's a special guy. He's the same thing. He's clawed his way. He was making $12 an hour working for me, and now he's on Steve Harvey, Kelly Clarkson, and everything else. He just bought himself a Tesla, and this man is the hardest working man in show business.
I think in order to be successful, work hard, and that's what makes our country great, man. It really is. It's the American attitude, the desire to knowing that here's why. Knowing that we live in a country where you think about a country like China, they tell me this is silly. China, where this fire, when China shut it all down, go home or we shoot you. That don't happen here. An attitude, and we have overcome it faster, stronger, and better. I love right now we're beating all the models that are for us, and that's because it's free people are making the choice to try to force to do.
I think that's a really good point. And, you know, we want to get back to it. And like you said, the people that have that mindset of appreciate what America is, you know, we're on the fourth. I saw a graph on Facebook that was amazing. And it's a World War II veteran fighting for our right to be free, and then showing a guy in 2020 sitting on the couch for our right to be free. And so we're fighting a different battle, but we're asking the frontline people to just sit down. You know, we need to sit down.
Hey, I got a question for you. Coming.
That's really difficult.
I got a question for you, Craig, coming from our audience. Shelly Catalan is also a musician and freelances in multiple industry, and she has to hustle hard, but never experienced the complete blackout of all her industries like this. What do you have in terms of advice for other artists or people involved in creative endeavors to try to get work right now, to try to find success throughout this process?
Well, a good answer. The reality is our industry, there is no work. We don't. Now, having said that, I'm also a songwriter. So what I'm trying to do and alternate that energy into something else that hope will produce for me. Look, we kind of like in your industry, we can't produce money right now. Anything revenue is utilize all of our resources, thought processes, to create opportunity when we do to get back out there and try to streamline it and do it in this manner. I can only do and make money if people can come.
You know, Brian Newman, who's Lady Gaga's band leader, was on a show last week, and he said to me, his friend said to him, if you were a musician before this and you don't come out a better musician after this, then you weren't a real musician. And I think you're saying the same thing.
Actually, I don't think he's saying anything, Anthony.
A great statement.
Yeah, there was actually a moment. Brian Newman, who's Lady Gaga's band leader, lives in Brooklyn, and he was on the corner every day at 7 o'clock. We pay tribute to the first responders. So he's out on this corner playing his instrument, and there's an 18-year-old kid playing a tuba, and they didn't know each other across the street from each other, and they start jamming, and the next thing you know, it's on Inside Edition last night with Brian Newman, Lady Gaga's band leader, jamming with an 18-year-old, and now this 18-year-old has the coolest next-door neighbor in the history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And those are the moments. That kid went out on the street corner to pay tribute, and he just met one of the most successful musicians in the industry, and he didn't know it was his next door neighbor. And now that kid's probably going to have a really good connection, just because he tried.
Look at him.
Can you hear me?
I don't know. This is making this fascinating TV.
Yeah, you know what? I'd rather have it like this, where it's organic and it's true, as opposed to being in the studio. This is Craig Morgan. Craig Morgan's on his farm, keeping his family, protected and making sure they have food. So this is America, man. This is like the greatest studio ever. I want to see his farm. I want the audio to be crap. I don't want to sit in the studio somewhere just bullshitting.
You got the crappy audio and the crappy video, so it's your day, Anthony.
6 o'clock this morning, you'd have been early
smelling bullshit.
Turkey hunting. That's what we were doing.
Wow.
And I wish I really wish I was there. I was in Tennessee a couple of months ago, and unfortunately, I couldn't see you. But I will make as soon as this is over, I'm coming to see you.
I hope so, buddy.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for your words, and I think your words are really needed right now. And I can't wait to hear the music that comes out of this, because my children know every single word to every single Craig Morgan song. I can recite every Craig Morgan song, and my favorite song. I have a lot of favorite songs, but my favorite song is much more than country, and it talks about the city side of Craig Morgan.
A whole lot more to me. You know what?
I love that song. That's my third song.
I just finished a song that I put on Facebook. It was a tribute song to all the frontliners right now, the doctors, nurses, honors. It's a song that I'd written, ironically enough, right before all this happened, called "The Mask." And I wrote the song all in our lives at different points have to go, and I don't want to say that you because it's not a front, but we hide behind this mask of confidence, this mask of all these things about it. And it was the song that I dedicated to all those doctors and nurses, because I it's something now. There's days when we go out that we have to put the mask of strength,
I can't wait to hear it. I'm going to listen to it right after the show. And I love you, man. I love your family, and you are America. And I'm just proud to call you a friend. Thank you for being on.
Thanks, Craig. We'll see you soon. Wow, that was fun.
Well, it was fun. I love that guy, and it came through. His audio and everything wasn't good, but I think you got the point.
His enthusiasm, for sure, came through. You can't complain about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he is what's great about this country. He has a farm. He's making food. He's getting his own meat. He's not standing in the supermarket for his meat. Yeah. And he's making it happen. And he can live on that farm probably for a long time. So. And he's an amazing songwriter. His voice is the best voice I've ever heard. To me, it's Frank Sinatra and Craig Morgan. Those are the greatest singers I've ever heard. Listen to his music; it's amazing.
Oh, well, I'm gonna have to go do that. As folks may suspect, I'm not naturally drawn towards country music, but now that I know this guy, I'm gonna have to go check it out. I think this is a good time to say thanks to our sponsor, the good folks over at Bartech. You can find them at bartech.com. They've been around for more than 30 years, helping hoteliers make more money in the guest room and that sort of thing. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of you folks when business starts to come back to think about engaging in a relationship with the good folks at Bartech. Check them out at bartech.com or drop them a line at info@bartech.com. And also thanks to Cintas for helping us out over here as well. Anthony, I think
let's get my friend Bruce around?
No, but we've got a Bruce here, so let's bring in a All right, we got Bruce Ford over here.
Did we send Bruce David Klein the link or no?
I don't have Bruce David Klein's information at all. I have no idea, man.
Okay, I will send him the link right now. Thank you very much. We are so professional, it's ridiculous.
It really is ridiculous. The reason why we're doing this today and having some production issues is because all of you out there that are doing shows, we want you to feel good about yourselves. We don't want to be too professional around here and intimidate you all.
Not every meeting goes perfectly, right?
That's right.
Bruce all over the place.
Bruce, a good Friday to you, sir. A
Good
good, or I
Friday,
should say, a good Friday to
double
you.
good.
Yep. Excellent. And happy Passover to all of my my Jewish friends out there. I got to tell you, last night we did our second Passover Seder, and we got my mom involved in it. My mom is alone in her place, and we've got the four of us over here. So what was really cool is my wife drove over to my mom's house and put some stuff in front of her front door. The Seder plate, all of the Passover goodies that we do for our Seder. She went back outside. She called my mom. She said, surprise. They talked a little bit on the balcony, and then we FaceTimed with her, and we did the whole Seder with her on FaceTime. And I do want everybody to know I made my first official Jewish brisket last night, and it wasn't terrible. So I'm very happy about that as well.
You know what? I am so
Dayenu.
excited about that information. I'm so excited about that information you just gave me. The only thing I care about is your mom, and I'm just glad she's very, very happy and she's doing well.
Well, I'm personally
and,
offended.
Bruce, how are you doing today?
No, wait, hold on. We need to talk about why you are not intimately interested in my brisket. This is offensive to me, Anthony.
So, Bruce, how are you today?
Couldn't be better.
So, Bruce,
I mean, this is
so
fun.
Bruce, give us some numbers, Bruce. Talk numbers, Bruce, and then we can talk happy. We can talk sports.
Very nice
numbers.
increases in the renovation pipeline. I'm here to report that companies are beginning to kind of see to the other side of the river, if you will. They've been going through a lot of paperwork, obviously, employee situation and decisions needed to be made. And now they're trying to get their financial situation settled. And of course, the government's funding that's coming to the hotels and coming to the small businesses is leaking out slowly. I think also personally with your stimulus checks that many people will qualify for from the government, some of that seems to have a timeline that's going to begin. So I think this is all good news going into a holiday weekend, but it's been a rough past couple of weeks for many owners trying to figure out a path to go forward. But we have seen a nice run up in renovation announcements, and we're kind of beginning to dig into that because, trying to figure out strategically at your hotel what you can upgrade and replace that's really going to make a difference when you get to the other side of, hotel demand starting to come back. I, certainly see beds. I see soft goods, I see televisions, I see energy management, a great opportunity for energy management out there. And, so in a lot of cases, hotels have, every downturn brings an opportunity. And I think people are really starting to focus in on what that opportunity is and how they can maximize it.
Are you seeing people looking for the blood in the water yet?
Sure, there's some of those. And, I have said this in a number of conference calls I've had with clients. You're really going to have a number of different types of approaches to the market. You're going to have people that would like to buy distressed hotels. You're going to have people that are looking to buy distressed new construction projects. You're going to have people that are out there seeking new third-party management contracts. You're going to have people that are looking for acquisitions. Just if you think about real estate investment trusts for a moment, they're well positioned in the marketplace because part of their position is they have to save the CapEx dollars. They have to have them on hand as part of the model of doing business as a publicly traded REIT. So they have dry powder also because they haven't been able to buy a lot of hotels over the past 12 to 18 months. So it's really going to be interesting as some of this begins to flush out. Also, in many cases, there's more hotel closures to report. And I think as many as 20 states now, if you're not working on COVID relief, you're not really allowed to have leisure guests in the hotel. So much of that is kind of changing the landscape a little bit. And the post-virus opportunity for suppliers and the post-virus opportunity for owners and management companies is beginning to become a little bit more clear, because if you do bring those patients into the hotel, if you do bring those relief workers into the hotel, you have to think about how am I going to come out on the other side? As sanitary or as cleansed. You know, what is
and the good news is we have a company that sponsors us, Syntox, that is able to come in and able to clean out and sterilize the hotel. But Bruce, what we're going to do, if it's okay with you, because it's Feel Good Friday, we're going to put the numbers aside for a second, and we're going to bring on our other Bruce, and we're going to talk about some. Actually has history with me doing Hotel Impossible. He's our producer on Hotel Impossible and a good friend of mine. So we're going to bring him on, and we'll bring you back in like 20 minutes. Is that cool, Bruce?
It's fine with me.
All right.
And we're going to talk sports.
Before I'll remove Bruce from the stream, but I do want, Anthony, for you to know before I bring Bruce in, this is really important. There's a lot of brisket conversation going on multiple streams, and other people appreciate it, even if you don't. So we got that going for us. Let's bring in Bruce. Bruce,
there he is.
Hey there.
To the show.
You know, speaking of brisket, our brisket, my son at the last minute added a little extra honey. And he was pouring it in. I said, whoa, slow down. It was the best brisket. My wife does it. She's a genius at brisket. Yep. But he added that little extra oomph. And I don't know what happened.
Bruce David Klein, let me ask you a question. You're an old-time camera guy. You're a producer. You're a TV, and you can't get yourself in your own screen?
Because I see two different things. One, I was actually framing it on 16:9.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, look over here. There you go.
I had Harpo in the background. Everything was good. Okay.
All right.
So no, you're back. Stay here. There you go.
Happy Passover, Bruce. I really appreciate you following up on all of this hot, sexy brisket talk. And I want everybody to know out there that you know, with all of the tragedies that are going on out there and the difficulty to get toilet paper, the best solution that you can have for that is eat lots of matzah, like we'll be doing over the last 8 days. You won't need any toilet paper anymore because you're going to be completely stopped up. So that would be the good news.
So one of the things we do, Bruce, is because there is tremendous heartbreak and tragedy around the country and around the world right now. So we don't want to make light of that. But today's Feel Good Friday, and we're talking about a lot of what we can do to help the frontline people, what we can do to help hoteliers. But today is your opportunity to make as much fun of me as possible. And first of all, so everybody understands is when I first started the show, I brought it to Bruce, and then Bruce made magic with his team, and 9 years later, we're on 9 years later, we're still on TV. Now we're on repeats. So it's been one of the greatest blessings of my life is to have done that show, and stay tuned for some announcements going forward. But so Bruce, I have a couple questions for you. Let's talk about the state of the industry right now, and then we'll go down memory lane a little bit. So let's talk about, we just talked to Craig Morgan, who you know because he was on our show, and he was telling the story of when he handed me the gun in Alaska and I shit myself. And and he's an American hero and he's an American treasure. And he was talking about his music, his industry shut down cold, and he's writing music and he's doing it live on Facebook every Friday at 4:00 Central Time. He's doing a little concert. And he's trying to make things happen. And I know you're very much like Craig Morgan. You're very much like me. You're always ahead of the curve. You're always 6 months out. You're not looking at what's in front of you. You're not looking what's right here. You're looking what's in front of you 6 weeks, 6 months out. He's very much like that. So in this business of TV, first of all, what does it look like coming out of it? What does it look like now? And what does it look like coming out of it?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is and I know it's good feeling, Good Friday, but the industry was already in a very, very challenged state, the entertainment industry of television, of film, because of all the disruption with all of the streamers, with all the cable universe that had grown up really over 20, 30 years. That whole model of how to make money, how to produce shows on cable basically was already in the process of disintegrating. So now we have this incredible challenge. Right now in TV and film, every production is shut down. So I'll say that again. Every production, 20, 30, 50,000 productions that were shot, whether it be a game show, a shiny floor show, whether it be a documentary, whether it be whatever, shut down, okay? So that is creating such stress. What I have been heartened by is some of the creativity that's been coming out. Like I noticed this weekend for the first time, SNL actually is doing a remote version of SNL.
That'll be interesting.
I think that, including Weekend Update.
Mhm.
So I think that's an example of creative people rising to the challenge.
Yeah, Bruce, I mean, you're right, because I think about what's going on with like the late night shows, how they've all pivoted, right? So this must be an interesting inflection point, though, for guys like you and for those that are producing, all of the major network TV shows as well. That so how do you think about what's going on right now, and how do you think about being able to maximize opportunity for folks in the future, such as Anthony, and for when everyone bows down and finally realizes they need to give me a TV show?
Here's what I'm obsessed with right now. The entertainment, TV, and film industry, I've always said, is no different from the fashion industry.
Mm-hmm.
Today, in the fashion industry, you're trying to figure out what colors, what hems are going to be like next spring, not this fall, next spring. The entertainment industry, you're looking for, how can I predict the zeitgeist of the country?
Mm-hmm.
How can I get this cultural vibe of what people will want to watch after this passes? And it will passes because everything passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we look to the past, we find that during times of trouble, people tend to gravitate towards more escapist fare. I think that's one thing that you're going to see more of in the 3 and 6 and 9 and 12 month period. Total escapist fare. And then I think on the other side are stuff like the kind of stuff that we've done with Anthony that, he does, better than anybody, which is transformation. People want to see people going from bad to not good, but great. And I think obviously Hotel Impossible, a lot of the shows that we did were based upon that. So I would raise that almost a question, to the audience, to you guys, using our own experience and going very, very deep and taking a moment, because we all have moments now away from technology, away from subways, away from everything, to ask yourself, in 3 to 6 and 9 months, what kind of movies will I want to watch? What kind of TV shows will I want to watch? We don't have the answer, but I will tell you, there's going to be an article written a year from now in the cover of the New York Times culture section that says, wow, as a result of the pandemic, all TV now is X.
Right.
If we knew what X is, we would be billionaires. Nobody knows, but we can speculate. And that's kind of my job.
Well, I think we need to bring back Extreme Hotels, my favorite show that I've ever done. That's what we need to bring back.
Which
people want to escape themselves.
That's escapist. I mean, seeing Anthony, God knows the get-ups that you were in the haunted hotel episode. Oh my God, I don't know if people watching have never seen the episode of Hotel Impossible where Anthony gets dressed up as an Elizabethan Shakespearean actor in tights. I just highly, highly recommend it. That, you talk about fun Fridays or whatever, that is ecstatically explosive, rolling on the floor laughing Fridays.
I am a Shakespearean actor, and my favorite thing to do, sorry to interrupt, but my favorite thing to do was to always surprise people with my outfits, because everywhere it was matter of fact, this shirt was a shirt I wore in Alaska. And I'm wearing it because it's the first time I met Craig Morgan, so I'm wearing my Alaska shirt. But I've always tried to dress the part. I obviously dressed the part there. And I've always, my number one goal was, when I asked people what happens in the process of the show, is you go out, you shoot the show, you bring it back, it's in the can, and then Bruce and his team cut it up. They edit it up. They edited 40 hours of TV to 42 minutes. And then I get a rough cut. In my contract, was like I was allowed to get the rough cut. And just so you know, they never want to give the host the rough cut, because we're going to make bullshit changes and they don't want to hear it. But I got the rough cut, and I'm always very respectful, and I never really, and you'll say that, I give very few changes. But my number one priority is when I ask the editor, how did the rough cut go when Bruce is in there? And every single time, 108 shows, they said, There was a moment where he literally laughed so hard he couldn't stop himself. And my goal on that show for 108 episodes wasn't to make a good TV show, wasn't even turn around the hotel and help owners. It was to make Bruce David Klein laugh his ass off.
That's probably a smart way to do it.
You know, you sit in the edit room and you watch this, and after all, you know, the 70 people on the set, and you have hundreds of hours to make a 1 hour show. It all comes down to what's on the screen. And if I'm not, I have to be laughing, I have to be crying, which we did often in Hotel Impossible, and I have to be stressed out because I'm seeing conflict. If I don't feel that, it's not a good show. And honestly, I don't think we had one show in that series that I didn't feel that. One of those emotions.
Our last show was our best show, and with our best crew. It was the best I've ever felt in my life on the set. It was our last show, and it was the best show we've ever done, in my opinion, period, end of story. And that is a tribute to just really pushing each other. I pushed you a lot, you pushed me, and just getting a really good crew. Everybody from Bill to John to all our producers, Maddie and Lisa and Enrique. You know, if I didn't find Enrique sleeping in the bathtub, I just wasn't happy. Enrique's our sound guy, and who is a dear friend of mine. But that's what that show was about. It was about helping people, but also having fun. And one of the things I talked about on the podcast we did with you, and I talk about it all the time. Matter of fact, I talked about in talking to a friend of mine I was gonna have you on. And I said, I love that guy, and he's the best thing that's ever happened in my entertainment industry career. But I really should hate him, and I really should never talk to him again because he put me through so much pain and misery. I'll never forget.
One thing I have to say, because I always get asked this if I'm on a panel or whatever, and nobody believes this, but the fact is it's true. There was nothing faked on Hotel Impossible.
Yeah.
It was so... We went into these situations that were so fraught with drama, emotion, comedy, surrealistic comedy sometimes, that we literally turned on the camera. And, you know, Anthony will tell you my old thing. Whenever the producers would get pulling their hair out, I would say, you need a camera, you need Anthony, you need a hotel.
Right.
Go. And it was real. And that's what made it, I think, so authentic.
What would you say my reputation was? I would say 4th season of Hotel Impossible among producers and your crew. If somebody had to explain Anthony Melchiori, what would they explain? And be honest, because I know what my reputation was.
It was very simple. Extremely tough, extremely intense, extremely perfectionist, but fair. And I can't tell you how many arguments I've had with Anthony where it's like, you know, you don't know what to do. You can't do it. And he's like, you have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. And one of us would say, you know what, you're right. And I think the fact that he could be that intense, but also when he realizes the person's making a correct decision, he says, I'm wrong, you're right. And I think that's a tribute. That's
a great compliment.
You don't get that.
And I'm still waiting to hear those words from him. I guess I'm gonna get my act together. And Bruce, I would like to let you know that I'm wearing this sweater in honor of the first time that we met a couple of year and a half ago or so. So I just wanted to keep that going.
There was a podcast, and now how do you remember you wearing?
Bruce, somebody
that up.
I figured that.
Bruce, somebody just wrote, I love Anthony's facial expressions to the camera. And if you ask Bruce, that is the show. I remember early on, because you know, people think I do it to, like, you know, as a gimmick or to ham it up. But you have to understand, I have my production crew, which I really don't want to interact with when I'm on camera. The owner is in front of me, and I have to release my emotions. And that camera is my friend. The camera is the only person, and I look at it as a person that I can talk to. So I don't think I'm talking to anybody. I think I'm just talking to a camera. And so those facial expressions are just my release of energy. It's like I need to talk to a producer, or I need to talk to the director, but I'm just going to talk to the camera because I can't stop mid sentence. And so those facial expressions became trademark of Hotel Impossible, but it was completely by accident. And I never did a facial expression that I realized I was doing it until I watched it in the rough cut.
But the key is you did it differently each time. I tell the story often that we did the first episode, and we shot this scene of Anthony undoing a bed in a hotel room. And, you know, he did his check for bed bugs, and he didn't like the way this was, and he was the sheet, you know, laundered too many times or whatever. And we were all watching it in the rough cut in the room, like on the edge, like, oh my God, this is so unbelievable. And then we said, how many times could he do this? Could we do this on the third show, on the fourth show, on the fifth show? How many times can we do it? And lo and behold, he did it differently 125 different times.
That's amazing.
Every bed is different, right?
Yeah, and 108 shows. And, you know, one of the things on Feel Good Fridays, we try to give, you know, force to see what's going on. So you're in music, and yes, everything's closed. You're in entertainment, everything's closed. You're almost every business, everything's closed, right? So how do I see? Craig said it really, really well. It's that you have to work harder, not to get to the top. You have to work harder to get to the top. So if the top is here, your work has got to be so much further than getting to the top. And I think that was really well said. And I think one of the things that I really attribute to the entire team is everybody worked really, really hard, and everybody was really, really intense. And it comes down to, you know, making sure lunch is on time, because if lunch isn't on time, we go into overtime. If we go into overtime too many times, we're going to get canceled. So like every single thing is just gotta really work and really work very well all the time. And you said to me, and I've said it on the podcast when you were on, when I was sitting in my living room or my dining room when we got the call that it was greenlit, and you said, you will never work harder. And I laughed in your face. I mean, I not only laughed in your face, you disgusted me by saying, it's like, you entertainment people, you get out of here. You play all day. I run hotels. I turn around famous hotels. You're out of your friggin' mind. And like, really, I remember being disgusted by you saying that. I remember just being completely like, I just want to throw up. And then, and I remember the first season, it almost crushed me. And the saving grace for that season, I talked about it before, but Glenn actually mentioned it was the reason he got addicted to the show, or he watched the show, is when Bill came back on set to save the show, which you would never tell me that we had shit in a can. But when we came back in and we had to save the show, the first, just let me back up, the pilot, we had to go back out and shoot scenes because we had a producer and a director that were married, and they were fighting. He'll say hiccups. They were fighting, and they were driving everybody crazy, including me. Anyway, we didn't get the show. We had to go back, and Bill McLean, who became our director later in the series, like the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th season, came in. He was a supervising executive for Bruce and his company. Came out to see what was going on, and he looked at me, and I go, "What do I do?" And he goes, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" I go, "I don't know." He goes, "What would you do right now if you were in a hotel?" I go, "Well, see that guy? He's a bellman, and he just passed the guest and didn't say hello." And then we shot a scene where I just trained this guy how to be a bellman. And it was the realest scene, I think, in the history of Hotel Impossible, even 108 episodes. And it was Glenn, tell you, like, you noticed that scene.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first time I saw the show, that was the scene that I think we were just talking about this yesterday, but that was the scene that really captured me. That said, I am in on this show. I freaking love what this is doing, because you're not trying to go for cheap shots, and it's not about people being angry at each other and saying catty things about each other. Rather, it's about really showing the hospitality industry and teaching real valuable lessons. And that's what made me really into it.
No, without question. I will give you a bit of inspiration, because it's good Friday, Happy Friday. And that is, right now, as we're talking, in houses and hovels and in half, basements all over this country, there are writers, producers, idea people, creative types who are thinking of amazing ideas that, as soon as production gets going again, are going to hit the air. And I think that, to me, we all talked about all of these startups that occur strangely during, the big companies. If you see the list of the big companies that were created during the Depression, the big companies that were created around 9/11 or around 2008, 2007, 2008. And I think that's what keeps me going, is the knowledge that other producers out there right now are coming up with great ideas. They're writing them down. I actually literally have on my screen right now an idea that I'm working on for a network, and that's literally going to have an explosion, I think, of creativity, of culture. And I think you're going to see that in music, in the arts, in Broadway. And that to me is I'm a big Broadway guy, as Anthony knows. And to me, the key moment for me, and I think we're all going to have this in our lives, but the key moment for me when I say the world is back is when Broadway opens. And when you can have 1,100 people in a confined space watching a cast of 50 people who are in confined space in backstage all experience something for a couple of hours together,
right?
Then I know the world is back. And I hope
and that's really, you know what, I didn't look at it in terms like that. So do you think Broadway will have to change coming out of this, or you think we'll go back to normal?
I think, when are you saying, and what is normal? I think it's pretty obvious that there's going to be some kind of ramp up in, I think, a lot of these particular public things. And it would not surprise me if Broadway first starts with selling every third seat, as an example. They may do things like that, require you to get a temperature check as you walk in the door. But it's going to be like that. And, you know, people have said after 9/11, all these places that you were never checked before you entered, suddenly there's higher security. You're getting checked. Did you ever get checked in walking into a building in Manhattan? No, you would just walk in. Now, you know.
Do you think coming back that before audiences come back, they'll just have the cast and they'll stream it
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talk actually in the music industry, because if you think about it, forget the Bruce Springsteens of the world and the Kanye Wests of the world that could sell out stadiums tomorrow. But you have a lot of B plus, even A- performers who they earn their living by doing, 80, 100, 120 shows a year. It would shock me if many of those don't start doing, Zoom concerts or whatever for $5 or for $10, because most of these performers have this infrastructure to support. They have managers, they have lawyers, they have hangers on, they have bands, they have all these people. So I definitely expect that very soon. So it would not be too far a cry to think of that happening with Broadway. And in fact, many people watched the Amazon hit Fleabag, which was a huge kind of international hit. And I noticed that starting tonight, for about a week, Amazon is actually going to allow you to buy for $5 the Broadway play that Fleabag was based on. They recorded it live in London, and for $5 you could watch it.
No, that's pretty cool.
I think in a lot of cases you would. Now, the bigger ones like Hamilton that literally have billions of dollars at stake in terms of future revenue, I wouldn't expect Amazon to give it away for, cheap or whatever. But I don't think there's enough security. I think people could just take it, and it'll be on YouTube the next morning, and then you're finished. So.
And one of the things that I realized through this whole pandemic is that, and one of the great tragedies is that haircut places are closed because your hair is one of the great tragedies coming out of the pandemic.
Hey, I love, we were joking around last week that we're going to start to measure my hair as it gets poofy, and we're going to keep measuring Anthony's hair as well.
The first thing you said to me when I said you'll be on today, and he goes, I can get a haircut.
Well, yeah, my wife has always wanted me to have the kind of late era Michael Douglas long greased back hair. So this is the first time I can actually try that.
Today it looks more like a star of Eraserhead than anything else.
So, Bruce, one of the things that people say every single day, and I said something to you that will stay confidential, we won't talk about, but I called you the other day and I told you something I haven't told you in 3 years. And I shocked myself. I don't think I shocked you, but I shocked myself. And so people are always asking me, how does the Hotel Impossible come back? When is Hotel Impossible coming back? What is the new Hotel Impossible? So what do you say to those people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially what happens in television is all things cycle in and out, but the true stays the true. So something like the energy of Hotel Impossible that was created, that was executed on so many different episodes and everything like that, that energy is still out there. Obviously there are reruns, and that will, shall we say, I would say people should look for that glowing fireball to be reconstituted in a potentially different, potentially very different way. I think I am never a big fan of like, bring back the same thing. Let's just do more episodes of Hotel
I wouldn't do the
Impossible.
same thing.
And
Right.
and I know that even if we got an order tomorrow and I, pleaded with Anthony, whatever, he would push us. What's the next level? What's
Right.
the next incarnation? So that is kind of the things that we're talking about. A lot of it right now has to do with networks and their needs. So, we get needs, and I was just reading for one of the big streamers, and their needs right now are for big, shiny floor, like The Voice and American Idol type shows. Okay, so what we do may not fit into that kind of thing
High School Musical.
right now. But having said that, just as soon, everything is a cycle. Just as I said before, television is like fashion. We can get that analysis of all the network's needs, and we talk to a lot of these people all the day, and they can say, we're really looking for something in kind of the transformational business or whatever space, and then we're like, ding, so we've had these conversations. These conversations are ongoing in terms of what that looks like, but and let's just say that Anthony and I are always talking about some really interesting ways to kind of take what we did to the next level.
To be perfectly honest with you, for 3 years I haven't been interested. I mean, that's just perfect. That's being perfectly honest. I wasn't interested in doing this.
Right, but now that he's been doing this show with me, he definitely wants to go back to television.
And somebody actually just asked a very good question, which is, why change it if it isn't broken?
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that audiences are so fickle. Maybe you are not, but audiences are so fickle. Like they'll watch, and be like, okay, I got this. What's next? Especially now because of the competition. So what you want to do is you want to extract the DNA, that magical DNA from a show like, let's say, Hotel Impossible, and then take a new vessel and insert that DNA in there. So it feels similar. It feels satisfying in the same way, but it might be something completely different.
Well, I've got a great show. It's a mashup type of a show where we have people pitch things in the hotel competitions, but then they have to sing, and the judges are all ghosts in haunted hotels. I think that'll be the perfect show for our current era.
You know what? And I'm not the same person. I would say that I'm more patient than I've ever been, and more impatient than I've ever been. I'm more patient for stuff that I wasn't patient for before, and I'm a lot more impatient for stuff I was more patient for before. And I would say my bullshit meter is I have no patience for bullshit anymore, more than ever. And but I'm actually more patient about people just not getting it, whereas before I was impatient about that. If you don't get it, that's why I'm around, and that's why I'm going to help you. And I'm older, and I'm 55, and I've been doing this forever, so I'm a lot more even keel and more patient and caring in a deep way than I used to be. But when people should know better, I'm just really bad. So in other words, make sure those producers that are on set are the best there is, because the producers, we went through, and I say this and people don't believe me, but I think we went through 18 producers in 3 seasons. Which has got to be a record.
And you learn, and you try different producers, and each producer brings a little something to it, and then what happens is it keeps getting better until suddenly It's perfect.
Until Anthony can tolerate them. Lisa, Maddie, and
shout out to Lisa, Maddie. Yeah,
they were the dream team. But there was plenty of other producers, Tara and other producers that were fantastic.
Yeah.
But listen, and then one of the things I've learned, and I didn't realize. Well, I did realize it, but I think it really sat on me afterwards, after the last couple of years. Is so much goes into it. I don't know if I ever told you this. I was at a soccer game for my daughter. I was out in Long Island somewhere, and I ordered a turkey sandwich for her for lunch. And I've never been in this deli before. And the guy behind me goes, Anthony Melchiori. So I thought he was a fan. I turn around and I go, hey, how are you? You a fan? He goes, I listen to your voice 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. He's the sound mixer that you know, I guess you send out the sound.
Right, okay.
He was the sound guy that listens to my voice 8 hours a day. I never even knew that guy. 4 seasons in, I never knew that guy existed. So it really does take a village.
That is true. That is true. But it's a great village, and there's nothing like the feeling of getting in that vibe. It's like creating a TV show and getting it going is literally the same thing as starting a factory. You have to find the factory. You have to get all the machines moved in.
Right.
You have to oil all the gears. You have to put the right people in the right places. And then you turn it on and it's all screwed up and you don't know what's happening and people throwing monkey wrenches in, and you oil it, you fix it, you tween it. And then at some point, and that's one of the greatest feelings, certainly on our side of the business, is things start humming, and nothing is ever automatic and it's not easy, but it hums, and it's a great hum. It's a great hum when it works.
You know, when we first got the show, you said to get greenlit $1 billion and one, and then to get a first season's $1 trillion and one. You know, 9 seasons of a show from a guy who had the outline with the Rossies, had the outline of the show, and then handed it to you. That percentage for one guy to come up with an idea and go to 9 seasons. Honestly, without exaggeration, 9 seasons on television, national television, 120 countries. What are the percentages? And the reason I'm asking that is because it comes down to the hard work. The reason it was lasted so long is because everybody worked hard. But what are the percentages?
Yeah, I mean, well, put it this way. You have 1 out of 100 shows that is, quote, created would ever get what we would call a development deal, where maybe the network gives you a couple of dollars to make a little short 10-minute sizzle tape or a mini pilot or something like that. 1 out of 100. Out of those pilots, maybe 1 out of 50, okay, gets a green light for a first season of a series, okay? If you've gotten that far, meaning you've proven yourself, the pilot's good, it gets on the air, it's a series, it's real, and this is an actual fact, 11% of the shows that get a first season get renewed for the second season. 1 out of 10. So if you start, I'm not great at math, but if you start doing those 1 out of 100, then 1 out of 50, then 1 out of, I think that kind of gets you the sense of
yeah. So, but of that one of the 10 that gets greenlit, how many don't even see the light of day?
Don't even see the light of day. And if you remember, every time we got greenlit for another season, I would bring the whole staff in the room. Anthony was either on the phone if he was traveling or he was there. And what did I always say? I said, this happens rarely. Enjoy it. You know, we bring out the champagne and the cookies or the strawberries, whatever. I said, enjoy the ride. It never lasts. It goes on for a long time, but it never lasts. And that's the cruel part of television, but it's actually a good thing because I think it makes the fruit so much sweeter in that you get these little bursts of things like that. So we're looking forward to the culture changing. It's in the process right now of changing, and new movies and new TV shows to come out. I think one big concern in the entertainment industry are movie theaters. Most people expect AMC theaters to go bankrupt in the next 30 days.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, they were running on fumes before this happened.
They were bad before it.
Yeah.
And this is because, you know, when you can watch Irishman or whatever on Netflix, even though a lot of people like to go out to the theater, the fact of the matter is it's kind of easy to sit at home and watch The Irishman on your screen. So that is absolutely affecting. I thought for a while there that the upgraded, and I think that's still kind of the secret, where the upgraded experience of some of these theaters that are, with the couches and with the whole thing, restaurants in the theater, that may be the future. But a couple of those companies that do that have gone bankrupt. So I'm very concerned about the future of movies and a whole generation now that's grown up watching movies on their phone.
Right.
And I as a movie buff, that's how my interest in entertainment all started. I that is one concerning area. Because what they're trying to experiment with now, which is inevitably going to happen, is the studios were stuck with a lot of movies that were about to come out. Some, the big blockbusters, they push forward. The James Bonds and all that stuff were pushed.
And Black Widow was moved to November. And
Black Widow
was moved to November.
Exactly.
All of those kind of thing. But then you've got some films that they weren't that really weren't going to do so well that they are probably going to wind up dumping early. Yeah.
What they do is this window concept, which is unnatural but was really crucial. Mm-hmm. The idea that, like, when we do theatrical documentaries, there's a contract that we sign with the theaters that we play the film in, that we cannot be on any streaming service until 90 days after the film ends in the theater. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what that allows is that creates a window and pent up demand, so that when it goes on Netflix or whatever, people are like, I'm pumped up. That has now collapsed in the last month or two. So what they're doing is they're actually releasing some films directly to pay-per-view for $19.99 or whatever. How is that going to affect things long term? What kind of movies are made? I don't know.
Right. Well, it'll be a lot to see. Anthony, you've turned yourself off again.
Every single day. What was the excitement? Let me start over. The experiment of Irishman, did it work to what everybody thought it would?
The problem is nobody knows. And the reason nobody knows is because Netflix doesn't really give the numbers. What we do know is that nobody would spend $175 million plus P&A promotion on a big 3 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute Martin Scorsese epic. And ironically, the same thing is happening today. I think Hollywood Reporter and Variety reported today that Martin Scorsese's next movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, that had $170 million budget at Paramount, traditional studio, Paramount now said, we don't want to write the check anymore. And they have allowed Scorsese and DiCaprio to try to take that film and find alternative methodology to fund it. So does that become a hybrid thing where it's released in the movie theater by Paramount, but then Netflix has it? We don't know. So in terms of The Irishman, what we do know, well, it didn't do well in the Oscars. It got 10 Oscar nominations, but didn't win one. I think Netflix was a little surprised at that. And I think the question that it raises is, you have Martin Scorsese, who in some ways is, he and Spielberg and Coppola, the last of the classic film directors who were raised on moviolas and touching film strips and cutting them and stuff like that, the physicality of film, and theaters, who are now dealing with the fact that, well, maybe our movies are going to go direct to Netflix. And I know there's a sadness there. Scorsese came out, pretty strongly against it. So in terms of, was Irishman good? I think it was a good experiment. Ultimately, we don't know, because Netflix does not share the ratings. We don't know the metrics. Remember, Paramount's goal is as many fannies in the seats as possible. We want to do $200 million at the box office. Netflix is, did The Irishman prevent some people who were going to cancel their Netflix subscription from keeping their Netflix subscription. That's all they care about.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know how you calculate that. Netflix obviously can because they're a tech company, but we have no idea. Was
And
it worth
this
175 million? They must have put another 50 million in advertising. That was in every subway when we used to travel in the subway was shrink wrapped with Irishman stuff.
I bought you Tiger King cost him 10 million and probably made him 300 million.
Exactly. Unscripted nonfiction TV. And the new episode of Tiger King comes out on Sunday. For those that 7 hours was not enough for.
Oh, really? There's a new episode already?
A new episode. They just did a new episode.
Oh, wow. And just so you know, just so you know, Bruce is one of the most creative and one of the most just, he's always thinking. And I know the weekend is over, he's going to call me and go, what can you do with a lion? We're going to have Lion King. We have Lion King already, Bruce. All right, Jaguar. How about camels? Can you grow camel? Can you have a camel farm?
Zoo Impossible. How about Zoo Impossible? We did one Zoo Impossible. Remember
I was going to say, I've got a great reality show about platypus ghosts, but all right.
Right.
All right. So, Bruce, before we wrap this up, tell me one thing that we don't know about Anthony Melchiori.
Oh
boy,
there are so many things. You know what? Here's what I'll say, and it's a little corny, but whatever. He actually he's big and loud and boisterous, but he really enjoys quiet times. He loves walking on the beach. He loves taking a nice cerebral moment in his backyard. He's called me from his backyard, and I can't believe how serene and relaxed he is compared to his real personality, which is intense and energetic. So I think the fact that he actually enjoys the quieter moments would surprise a lot of people. I mean, to see Anthony not talking and just quiet and passive is pretty wild.
Well, like I'm an M16. You put me down, I'm quiet and I'm harmless. You pick me up and I'm brutal. And Leo Rossi, I was talking to Leo last night. You know Leo, and he said to me, he goes, "Hey, I caught you LinkedIn Live," and he said, "You know, we're brothers." And yeah, you can say anything to me. And he goes, "What happened to Anthony Melchiori?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're so like you're not Anthony Melchiori." I said, "No, I am Anthony Melchiori. But what am I supposed to do? We're in a pandemic. People are losing their businesses, losing their lives. We're trying to bring real information. I mean, this is really important to me. This is really important to Glenn. We're doing this for free. We're doing this to bring people together. We're bringing entertainers on Friday. We're bringing producers on Friday. But Monday through Thursday, man, we're talking nothing but how do we help our industry? How do we help our community? How do we help America?" And so I don't know if I'm supposed to be like that guy that everybody knows, but that's a part of me. And a part of me, and I think Glenn has spent a lot of time with me in the last year. He sees that part of me probably a lot more than anybody's ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. Except for the walking on the beach part, because I don't go out in public with you.
Yeah,
but we do have lots of drinks at the Garden City Hotel together.
Yeah, we go. He goes to all the when the conference is speaking. He goes to all the cocktail parties, and I go to the casino or go to my hotel room. So yeah. So right. Thank you very much. And one of the things that people don't know about you, well, they do, but I'll say it anyway, is BDK is the most curious human in the history of humans. And one of the things about being on a set with producers and directors and people just in show business is you can say, "Hey, I think I want a watermelon for lunch." You know, I did a documentary about watermelon, and you know how many seeds there are in watermelon? So I guarantee you somewhere in your life you did something about watermelons and you pontificate about it. And it's always fascinated me that everybody on set always knows something. It's like if I had you all around my kitchen table at 7 o'clock every night for Jeopardy, I would win, because we play Jeopardy every night now. It's quarantine Jeopardy. And I always get the double Jeopardy question. I got something. It was "The sun always rises" or something was the answer. Right. And my wife said, "That is unfathomable that you would know that. That is not possible." She just looked me right in the eye. So I always get the double Jeopardy question. Last night was Portugal and Spain. Anyway, so
on the curiosity, what's the story behind your screen behind you?
Okay, so see, no one's asked me that. No one's asked me that.
Moons and suns, you know.
No one has asked me that, and because you asked me, I'm going to tell you. I have behind me is a black closet, and the lighting was hitting off the black closet. So I went online to Amazon 2 weeks ago and said, let me find a room divider. I found a room divider for $79, and I got a room divider, and it's behind me, and it's a little too close, but it's better than a black closet. Do you like it?
It's very far
It's from India.
eastern.
It's from India.
I was going to say moons and
India.
stars. It's moons.
Do you like it? Do you like it?
I think it's great. I think it works. I think it works because it contrasts your personality.
Right. So it's from India for $79. Can't beat that.
All right. So, Bruce, how can we learn more about Atlas Media?
How do you learn about us? Go to atlasmedia.tv and you could search some of our programs, and you could also watch some of the stuff that's out there. One of the things that's been getting a lot of press recently is a film we did a couple of years ago set in the world of Broadway with Stephen Sondheim and Hal Prince, called Best Worst Thing That Ever Could Have Happened. It's on Netflix, and that this week both the New Yorker and the New York Times said, and I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but it's the best way to beat the boredom of quarantine is watching this movie. So we're
sounds like a compliment to me, Bruce.
It's so funny. We went to the premiere. Me and my daughter, Bruce invited us to the premiere, and we walked the red carpet or whatever it was, and we sit down, and I don't know anybody in the theater besides Bruce. And my daughter, who's in musical theater, looks at me and goes, Dad, that person, and that person, and that person. Every single person in there was a theater person, a Broadway theater person, a famous Broadway theater person. My daughter knew every single person. I had no idea who it was. But anyway, I know we got to go. Glenn looks bored, and we got to bring somebody else back. We got to bring Bruce back.
Get
Bruce.
back to the core of.
I'm getting.
Thanks for doing this on short notice.
Really appreciate it, Bruce.
My pleasure.
Take care. From one Bruce to another, Bruce Ford is back.
There's a lot of good stuff in there, guys. I mean, you start to think about how things are going to come back. I was talking with somebody about conference hotels the other day. When's somebody going to use a meeting room? It's and what could be repurposed inside of those spaces was a context we were working on. But it's really, I think that many hotel people are going to feel much better about their forward direction when we get to the other side of this holiday. And I'm excited because things are starting to fall into place.
Do you mean the Easter holiday or New Year's next year holiday?
Look, we're going to be back. We're going to travel again. We're going to meet again. And
we're going to go to the movies again.
We will be together again. And we have to believe that there will be a turning point where you say, when you go outside, you could have caught the flu, you could have caught the common cold. And you know what? That kind of thing, and you're going to get to a point where you're going to get over it, okay? Yep. And hopefully we're going to feel like, we have some handle on the virus at some point in the next 60, 90, 120 days, and we'll be back at it. And
BF, give us something positive and uplifting. What are you doing around your house this weekend to spread the love, be with family, all of that kind of stuff as you're thinking about your Easter holiday?
Well, part of it is trying to do those family calls, with the Zoom and everything like that, and trying to spread the love, but spreading it out even further than just, the parents, getting the kids involved, and trying to make as much of a semblance of normal as you can. Mm-hmm. I'm also, it is Masters weekend this weekend, so I'll be watching reruns of the Masters that'll be available on ESPN all weekend.
That'll be a lot of fun because already it's such a fast-paced, engaging sport, and when you already know the winners, it must be twice as fun.
Hey, watching Augusta National at any given time is fun for guys who like golf.
What do I know? What do I know? I don't like. I'm not a sports guy, so yeah.
There's an announcement today that on Sunday night at 7:00 on ESPN, they're going to have a number of current and former NBA players. They're going to play horse, just like we would in our own backyard. Live on TV on Sunday night after your Easter dinner, you can watch NBA guys shoot baskets.
There was an announcement yesterday from Dana White from UFC that they finally canceled April 18th. They were going to have a major fight on April 18th, and I, as a big MMA fan, I like UFC, but I love MMA and I love how they produce it. And I was like, okay, I really appreciate renegades. I like to think I'm a renegade. But I was like, this is nuts. I don't have no idea how they're going to do this. And they're like, we're doing it. And every day he came on Instagram, and every day he's doing it. And then ESPN's owned by Disney. UFC is now on ESPN. Somebody, as Dana White said, the top of the top of the top of the food chain called and said, "You need to sit down. We need not to have the UFC fight," and they shut it down. Which, on one hand, I love. On the other hand, it's like, oh, I really want to watch it. But I was also challenging myself. Will I watch it? I don't think it's worth people. I don't know. I was conflicted, but they shut it down. So
yeah, and there's a lot of talk about the sporting events and if they will come back. Will hockey come back? Will basketball play this year? I don't know. Those controlled environment sports are.
I want to know, Bruce,
hard
when football comes back, who will you be rooting for this year? Being that now you're torn and maybe a Tampa
Buccaneers
fan. Yeah.
Well, I'm married into a Minnesota family, so my NFC team has always been the Vikings. So
can I make a prediction? Can I make a prediction right here, Bruce? Sure. And we can even do a bet right here on National Live LinkedIn. We can do a bet.
Okay.
The Buccaneers will win the Super Bowl.
Huh. I will take that bet.
How much?
Bottle of Johnny Walker, perhaps, or what?
Blue or black? Blue or black?
I guess it depends who wins, right?
It's got to. I would go with the blue. Bottle of Johnny.
Okay, Johnny will blue that the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl.
Okay, I'll tell.
And I'm not a Patriots fan. And I just listen. Where I look at people in especially in sports when everything's on the line. That Super Bowl comeback will never leave my memory. What he did in the fourth quarter is the greatest thing in the history of sports, in my opinion.
100%.
And I think he's going to have so much FU in him that he is going to say, "I'm old. Okay, you're done with me? Here we go. I'm ready." I 100% think that this man is on a mission.
He could say on Howard Stern, it's not about legacy, but when they say it's not about legacy, it's
all about legacy.
He wants to be able to say that I could win without playing for the Patriots and playing for Bill Belichick, which he's never been able to say. Any of the historical quarterbacks or running backs that have done this, they all had multiple coaches on the same team. Joe Montana had not just Bill Walsh, but other coaches, and Johnny U had not just, I won't remember the guy's name, but in many cases, Brady has only been a Patriot, has only played under Belichick, and I think he said, I need to see what the other side of the ice is like.
Yeah, but as far as I remember, I don't remember Belichick throwing the ball, or especially in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. I don't remember him doing all that magic. So, listen, the system that they built is, I'm a New Yorker, so I can never root for the Patriots, even though maybe I sometimes did without anybody knowing, because I love machines that are built right.
Yep.
And the machine was built right, but one of the things that you can't, you have an amazing race car, okay, and you can win the Indianapolis 500 with a great race car, but if you don't have the best driver on that day, you're not going to win the Indianapolis 500 because there's so many little intricacies that happen and so many things that could have turned into a car accident that actually didn't because of that instinct. And I think I'm absolutely fascinated by the Patriots. Listen, he's God to them, and he's God to that part of the world. But people outside the industry, outside that part of the world, outside of Patriots fans, that they don't understand what he is and how good he was or is mind blowing to me.
Yeah. Well, he's already started with the philanthropy down in Tampa Bay as they donated 750,000 meals in Tampa Bay, him and his wife Giselle, which is great. I think athletes now need to think about philanthropy more. They have the capacity, they have the capability. I'm hopeful that we'll hear more about that because at the end of the day, they got to give back to the people that come to see them and root for them and cheer for them. And
the reason they have $100 million paychecks.
Correct. And some of that's local, but I think they could do even more to enhance that. And I was been listening to the other Bruce that was on. I think, there's some opportunity for shows and cast members and people to be in the news and in the business by making philanthropic gifts. Gifts can be very personal. You saw Tyler Perry bought in Atlanta at like 7 Kroger's. He bought all the seniors' food.
Yep.
That's great. I mean, that's very personal to him, and I think
73 supermarkets in all. That is absolutely unbelievable.
The guy who owns Twitter, what's his name? The guy who invented Twitter. He just gave $1 billion, which is 25% of his net worth, to this crisis.
Now that is amazing, and that's something that some of these billionaires really need to be doing and stepping up, especially considering all the tax benefits they've had in the last couple of years. What, Bruce?
Facilities for when we have the capacity to test and retest. They're going to build production facilities to make the tests, and so that America can go back to work. It's going to be an interesting time, but I wanted to wish you both a very happy weekend. Happy Passover, Glenn.
Thank you, sir.
Good Friday. Happy Easter, Anthony.
In other words, Bruce is done with us, Glenn.
No, I think we got to wrap this bad boy up anyway. It's 1:30. We've been on for an hour and a half. Bruce, you're awesome. We're going to have you back on a not so feel good day so we can get down to some of the hard scrabble hotel issues with you.
Just everybody take a deep breath and remember it's all new to everybody, and have compassion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Lots of love to you, Bruce.
Kindness
Ford.
matters.
We will see you soon. Anthony Melchiori, we've made it to the end of another week.
Kindness matters. That's a hashtag we should use scrolling through our show from now on. Kindness matters. I think I was inspired by Bruce. So let's listen. We had one of the greatest country artists, living legend, Craig Morgan. We had Bruce David Klein, who has been around since TV was invented, who's one of the legends in our industry. We had your Bruce, who's one of the great minds of our industry, giving us numbers and sports information. So I think from a technical standpoint, maybe you and I could have coordinated better. It was my fault. I'll take the blame. But I think all in all, I think we did a pretty good show. And listen, we're producing an hour and a half content live, and I think we got some really good things. Yeah. Somebody said on my LinkedIn page, I'm going to read that. I'm going to go over to LinkedIn for a second. And she said that she got a lot of inspiration from our show today, and that please keep it up. And I'm gaining so much inspiration.
Bring back a new version of Hotel Impossible. Don't leave out that part of it.
Thank you for your insight. And yes, bring back a reformatted version of Hotel Impossible. Listen, stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to Bartek. Thanks for Cintas. Thanks to Alamo Hospitality and the good folks over at Samsung.
And thanks, 7 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. We're banging pots and we're screaming out our windows, thanking the frontline people. So if you want to support them, please do that as well. Think about what they've been through, their families, what they've been through. Think about what they've seen, the pain they've seen. They've not only have to be a doctor and a nurse, they got to be family to these people, because their families aren't going to be at people. There's no advocate there for these patients. So what these nurses and doctors and caretakers are seeing are probably going to be close to what you hear when people come back from war.
Yep.
And we're going to have, talking about that, we're going to have Dr. Primus, who's an infectious specialist, an infectious disease specialist and travel doctor, who does all the top hotels in New York. He's going to be talking about what he's experienced in the last 2 weeks. So when we first had him on, it was the beginning of it. And now he's lived through the last 2 most terrifying weeks of his career.
Yep.
And now he's coming out in the other end. And so we're going to get his perspective, and that should be an interesting show.
Yeah, and we've got a whole lot of great guests lined up in the next couple of weeks. And if you happen to miss any of the shows that we did this week, it would be a perfect opportunity to sign up for our newsletter. And you simply have to do that by texting the word hotel to 66866. That's hotel to 66866. You get all of the shows that we're doing each and every week, plus stuff that you may not see on social media. Anthony Melchiori, have a wonderful holiday weekend with you and your family. Lots of love.
And please go to Hospitality Success on Facebook, sign up. We're giving free advice, free mentoring, free everything. Just Hospitality Success. Me and my partner, Jeremy Pinkerton, she's the best in the business. We're giving you advice on how to survive this economically, as well as hopefully giving you some motivational inspiration. So, Glenn, I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you too. And I appreciate everyone out there for giving us the opportunity to come into your homes each and every day at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time. We're working on creating great production here. As you can see, we're upping our production values, not including today, but we are upping our production values and trying to make this as entertaining and real of a show as possible. If you have any thoughts and comments that you'd like us to see incorporated into the show, drop us a line. He's Anthony Hotels. I'm Traveling Glenn. In the meantime, have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you at the top of the week. Be safe.